4.9.23. Canto 4, chapter 9, verse 23.
23.
Okay. Tvad bharati uttamanaste mrighayayam tunan manaha anveshanti vanam mata davagnim sa pravekshati. Translation. The Lord continued, sometime in the future your brother Uttama will go hunting in the forest, and while absorbed in hunting he will be killed. Your stepmother Saruchi, being maddened upon the death of a son, will go to search him out in the forest, but she will be devoured by a forest fire. Okay, purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki. Dhruva Maharaj came to the forest to search out the superset Godhead with a revenging spirit against his stepmother. His stepmother had insulted Dhruva, who was not an ordinary person but a great Vaishnava. An offense at the Lord to speak of a Vaishnava is the greatest offense in this world. Because of having insulted Dhruva Maharaj, Saruchi would become mad upon the death of a son and would enter a forest fire, and thus her life would be ended. This was specifically mentioned by the Lord to Dhruva because he was determined for revenge against her. From this, we should take the lesson that we should never try to insult a Vaishnava. Nor should we not insult the Vaishnava, but we should not insult anyone necessarily. When Saruchi insulted Dhruva Maharaj, he was just a child. She of course did not know that Dhruva was a great recognized Vaishnava, and so an offense was committed unknowingly. When one serves a Vaishnava unknowingly, one still gets a good result. And if one unknowingly insults a Vaishnava, one suffers a bad result. A Vaishnava is especially favored by the Supreme Personality Godhead. Pleasing him or displeasing him directly affects the pleasure and displeasure of the Supreme Lord. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, in his 8 stanzas of prayer, spiritual masterpiece has sung, Yasya Prasadad Bhagavad Prasado. By pleasing the spiritual master, who is a pure Vaishnava, one pleases the personality Godhead, but if one displeases the spiritual master, one does not know where he is going. Okay, so who's familiar with Dhruva Maharaj? Everybody familiar with Dhruva Maharaj? Hands up now. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, so who is the grandfather of Dhruva Maharaj? Very famous personality.
Manu.
Yes, not any Manu, Swambhuva Manu. So creation started with him. The reason I'm mentioning this is a very special family that Dhruva Maharaj comes from. Not only he's Swambhuva Manu is he's one of the Mahajans. He's a very special personality. Even his children are special as well. So you got very powerful kings like such as Priyavat, Dhruva's father Uttanapad, Devahuti. Familiar with Devahuti? Devahuti is the mother of.
Wife of
Anusya.
Devahuti.
Karda Muni's wife.
Yeah, wife of Karda Muni, mother of.
Daksha's wife.
No. Mother of.
Kapil Dev.
I mean, who is another daughter of Manu?
Yes.
Yes.
Manu. So one of 3 daughters of Manu. Yeah.
Devhuti, Akuti,
And
Prasuti.
Yes. So it's early morning and Pujari is getting confused. So that's the point. This is a very, very special family. We worshipful family in that sense. So what happens with Dhruva is when he's only little boy, 5 years old. His father has 2 queens. One is his mother, Suniti, and another is Saruchi. Saruchi, because stops him from getting onto his father's lap. He's like 5 years old, wants to have affection from his father. She not only stops him from getting onto his lap, she tells him that you should consider yourself most unfortunate you weren't born from my womb. He just insults him, like it's just really cruel words against him. Like you are not worthy to be here. You shouldn't be saying such horrible things to a little boy. You shouldn't say such horrible things to anybody. Full stop. She hurts him so badly. This hits his soul. This does. So he decides. He's in tears. He decides to himself, I want a kingdom greater than my father. And this is such a great family that a kingdom greater than his father is no big deal. Yet she goes further, wants a kingdom greater than Lord Brahma. That's not easily done. But then Dhruva goes about this. Actually, first what he does is go to his mother. Naturally, he's upset. He goes to his mother. He seeks, what do I do? Now, if yours now, if whether you have a child or not, imagine if your son comes to you, little boy, explains what's happened, that he's been gravely insulted, his father's rejected him, he's been insulted by his stepmother. Like, what would be your reaction? I'm asking everybody. I'm just asking that. Like, say your son comes to you, has been insulted, he's been, rejected. What would be your first reaction? Would be angry, upset. Now, Suniti is all of these things, but she's just a great personality herself. She composes herself and says, actually, there's no point being angry about it. You need to understand that this is Suniti she says, my position here is that your father doesn't consider me like his wife, doesn't consider me like a maidservant. You won't get any, you can be envious of your brother, you'll be angry towards your stepmother, but if you want, the only person who can help you is the Supreme Lord. She actually instructs him, you need to go and meditate on the Lord, you need to take his shelter. I can't help you, he can, only he can help you. It's a very important lesson there. Only, so we understand, in whatever circumstance, only Krishna that can help us. If we think that we are in charge, that's when we go wrong. We rely on Krishna's mercy, we rely on the Lord's mercy, then whatever problems we're facing, it'll be solved as such. So Dhruva's only 5 years old. This is different types of Satyuga, so different times as such, but still, back then the idea, focus on meditation. So he goes into the forest and he starts meditating on the Lord. Now, such is this case that he has the good fortune, because he's such a great personality himself and he's come from such a great lineage, that Narad Muni, the great Narad Muni, comes and instructs him. He actually tests him first. So he says to him, why are you so upset? You're only a boy, these things happen. And you do what you want to do all this, meditating and everything and just focusing on the Lord. And this is stuff for when you get older. He's actually testing Dhruva, saying, are you serious about this? If you're serious about this, then I will help you. If you're not serious, then you go back and just make up with your family. But Dhruva's actually very clever in that he says, I'm sorry, I can't think in such high. I'm not like some great Brahmin or something that I can think highly and just let things go. I'm quite low in intelligence, but I need your help. I need some guidance. So Narada was actually very pleased with him, because he's realized he's very serious. He's not like us, where we can be very easily dissuaded. If some distraction comes, we decide actually I'll do something else. He's focused on getting darshan of the Lord. So Narada Muni he just instructs him with everything, whatever he needs to do, as in explains to him not only the meditation and how to worship the Lord, in terms of he actually tells him how to produce a deity. So he's in the forest, he's got very little thing to work with, but he could in terms of wood, clay, that sort of stuff. How to fast, he gives him the full details. Dhruva is not just, this is that's like this benediction of having such a great personality instruct you. You get the full explanation of how to serve. That's why we are so, as in the verse said, it's just here prasada prasada. You can't, it's thanks to the mercy of the Guru we make that, we make that jump to actually attain the mercy of the Lord. So Dhruva, he takes a great penance, great austerity, and meditating on the Lord. And he's only eating, first month he's only eating berries, fruits. Then he goes out to water, and then he goes further than that. He goes, at one point he's just meditating on the Lord. And within 6 months he gets darshan of the Lord. Lord gives him complete darshan, and says, I will give you everything you want. But what is Dhruva's first reaction when hearing that he's going to get what he wants? He's going to get a kingdom greater than his father's, greater than Lord Brahma's. That's his great grandfather in this case. What was his first reaction? How did he actually feel about getting this? He didn't want it. Yes, exactly. He didn't want it. More than that, what he just felt. He actually felt embarrassed, because having got darshan of the Lord, he realized actually why am I asking for material things? I should be asking for love of the Lord. I should be asking for His serving Him. So again, through such a great personality, he's actually realized I'm embarrassing myself here. I should be looking for service. Look to build on my love of the Lord. But Dhruv is, again, as I was saying, Dhruv comes from a very special family. His family is so special that further down the line, he would come along a king known as King Vena. You familiar with King Vena?
Yeah.
Probably familiar. Now, he was actually a terrible king. He was so terrible, the Brahmanas cursed him to death. But they still kept him alive because he came from the lineage of Dhruva Maharaj. So they thought, okay, he'd become contaminated due to, as like his mother wasn't as, she didn't come from a auspicious line as such. She actually considered death personified. So that's more a case of you should be careful with, if you come from a good family, you should be careful who you marry as well. That's that kind of thing. But Dhruva Maharaj is Dhruva Maharaj is such a heightened, such a great personality. Actually, the Lord says to him, I will grant you, not only will I grant you this great eternal kingdom of the Dhruva Lok is actually eternal planet, Vaikuntha Lok planet. It never gets destroyed. He grants him that, and after everything's said and done, you will remember me at the end of death. So that's a different thing there. Normally, if we get material things, like, so for example, if you worship Lord Shiva, you get material things, because Lord Shiva gives you whatever you want quickly. But he doesn't say, I will make sure that you remember me at the end of death. He's like, just give you whatever you want. He leaves it to you. It's not like Vishnu. That's different between that and saying Vishnu Bhakti. Vishnu Lord, the Lord makes sure that you don't get anything that's bad for your bhakti. So that's why sometimes you see devotees might be looking not in great financial situation, but that's not because Lord's mean. It's because He wants you to focus on spiritual elevation. But Dhruva is special. He gets everything. He gets material benefit and he'll get spiritual benefit. He goes back to Godhead. Now this comes to this verse here where it explains that his brother and his stepmother actually pass away during the process. Now I explained how his stepmother is very cruel to him, and so she, as a result of Vaishnava Prad, she passes away. But the thing is, his brother they actually got along quite well. There was no Vaishnava Prad there between them two. They were actually they got along well. But he also passes away too. So that's important to realize that when you commit Prad against a great Vaishnava, Dhruva is a very great Vaishnava, there are consequences. In this case, Uttama ends up passing away as well. So because of her offenses, she loses a son and then she loses her life as well. So Dhruva has been set up to rule. The Lord has made sure that he gets what, I want to put you in that position. You are that special to me. I will give you everything. I want you to have everything. Normally if we want, say, material possessions, whatever, the Lord will make sure we get what we can handle. He can handle everything. That's the thing where Dhruva actually is very much enlightened. He's enlightened all this, and he continues to get great, association as well. So who remembers? Actually, I'll ask you. So who did Dhruva? After Uttama, who actually killed Uttama? Is anybody familiar with that?
Is it Gandharvas?
Not quite Gandharvas. It's called up. They're like the Yakshas.
Yakshas.
Yeah, Yakshas. Yes. So one Yaksha kills Dhruva. And Dhruva, being king of the world, he actually has to respond back, not because that was his brother as well. He has to respond, he has to deal with this. So Dhruva goes to the Yakshas. He eliminates this Yaksha. He starts eliminating not only this Yaksha, he starts eliminating all these Yakshas. The Yakshas are very powerful mystic, they're very powerful in mystic yoga. So they're very difficult to beat. They fool you. You think you're hitting them, but then they use the power to disperse. What's happening here? You don't understand.
Illusion, they can create illusion to you.
Exactly, probably. Yes. It's illusory. So Dhruva is so blessed. The sages actually come and say, they actually offer him their blessings. Say, don't be discouraged. We are with you. We offer you our blessings. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. So he's a great fighter. He just eliminates all these yakshas. But he gets to the point he's going to wipe out all the yakshas. So then his grandfather comes along. Remember who his grandfather is? Manu. Okay, good. This is grandfather Swayambhuva Manu. It's actually by this point he's left the kingdom. Swayambhuva Manu is doing his own thing, but he returns to guide him, saying, "Actually, you're going too far now. You have your enemy. Your issue with one yaksha who killed your brother. That doesn't mean you murder all the yakshas." So normally in war, you can just war. The laws kind of go out of place as such. If you're going to kill, when you start killing, you can wipe out. It's like these days, like obviously examples, Donald Trump, whatever. He just he doesn't really care. He's murdering children in Iran, and it's just there's no sense of decorum there. But Swayambhuva Manu reminds Dhruva that actually, you are a great Vaishnav. You have responsibility. You can't be irreligious. You can't just murder all the yakshas. Not only is this against our dharma, it's an insult to Kuber as well, who the yakshas come from. See, that's one thing we need to remember. We can't. So we are devotees, and we are expected to behave in a devotee-like manner. We can't just lose our. We get angry, we get upset, but we don't just lose it completely and then just go out of character. Or try to go out of what we expected of us. So I think like examples given of Prabhupada. Like Prabhupada could be angry with one devotee, but then he'll speak nicely to another devotee. It's not just, I'm angry at him, so I'm angry at you, and I'm angry at you. There's the control over your anger. We need to be like that. We need to have control over anger. Because that's obviously Bhagavad Gita explains, so you got lust, anger, greed. So anger is very nasty. Anger is the thing that kind of destroys your bhakti in one sense, because you can, like the mad elephant situation. You just destroy everything. You could have done lots of bhakti, great service, but because you let your anger go, you can lose it completely. Now the beautiful thing about Dhruva is, he listens to his grandfather properly. Now sometimes when somebody's giving us good advice, we can be, even though we know they're right, we can try and argue with them. We're just trying to prove that actually we're not complete. It's his fault. It's not my fault. But actually, Dhruv, I think it helps that it's Swayambhuva Manu is such a great personality. So you just kind of just if they're right. But Dhruv, he listens. He takes everything on board. He thanks his he accepts his grandfather's mercy, and he lets the yakshas go. He realizes actually I am wrong. I need to stop. So that's another thing we need to remember, that there needs to be like there always needs to be mindfulness there. We can't just whatever we're doing doesn't have to be something major, but just mindful what we're doing. Whether we're preaching, or with deity worship, or just association with other devotees, just mindful of what's happening. So with other devotees, for example, it can be you're mindful of what stage they're at in their bhakti. So actually, I'll ask Pujari, you can explain this nicely. So if a devotee is junior to you, how should we behave with them? Behave with them.
Yes, I think Srila Rupa Goswami explained in Nectar of Instruction how we should deal with the devotees. So he said one is junior or Kanishta Adhikari. We should respect them in your mind, but don't be too familiar or don't be too friendly with them. It's not good for them. They'll commit offense to you. That's to the junior devotees. Obviously, sometimes if you senior, you have certain of right to correct them in a nice way, as you said, not with angry. So you should correct them, but the main point is not to be too familiar to them. That's
yeah. So it's like Prabhupada explained, with juniors.
All obviously respect them. That's Srila Rupa Goswami. In your mind, speak with them that respectfully, guide them, but don't be too familiar with them. That's what goes on. Also, Srila Prabhupada said.
Yeah.
So that's how I understand.
Yeah, so that's one thing we need to be mindful of when new people come into the temple. You should try to help them. Sometimes you might need to tell them here or there, but don't try to, if you're too strict with them, sometimes you can scare them off. By the same token, if you don't correct them at all, then they can just be doing all sorts of offenses, and that's not good either. So there is that balance. But flip side is, actually above that is, then if somebody's like your peer, then you can be a bit more friendly with them. If there's a trust there, maybe you can share your thoughts. That's always important. That's always good, as in like loving exchange between devotees. That's always nice. And of course, if someone's your senior, then you look to serve them. You take their guidance. These sort of things. So like in this case, Dhruva Maharaj took guidance from his grandfather. He's senior Vaishnava in this sense. So, and he took guidance, and that led him back to the correct path of his, acting as a king. Therefore, I think one thing is that when we are, if you're aware of these sort of things, we will know how to behave in whatever different situations. That's the thing. That's what I mean by like, mindful is that when you know how to deal with each devotee, you can help them in their bhakti, and they can help you in your bhakti as well. So, like for example, if you're looking to preach, then that's always useful to preach to those who are, junior to you. That's always helpful. And flip side is, if you're someone senior to you, then you can ask them questions to help in terms of if you're stuck onto something, or you're looking for opportunities, for example. They probably know someone, or they themselves are quite often a senior devotee, then they have more responsibility. They can, maybe you can try this, maybe you can do this. It's that sort of thing. Now that's the thing. So it sounds very simple at times, but things can get tricky when things don't go your way. Like if you don't, say if you want to, for example, you want to come and you want to do arti, for example, but some of the devotees already taken that position, or they're a better singer than you, they're more senior than you, then that can cause issues. Like sometimes some devotees get upset, but you have to understand that everybody's trying to do a service. You shouldn't be so overzealous that you can't tolerate if you don't get the service you want. It's not if there's something genuine happening where you're not being denied service totally, then that's a problem. Then you should speak to senior devotees. They can try and fix the situation, because the whole point of Mandir is that everybody gets opportunity to serve and opportunity to advance. And that's the thing. So just coming back I won't go too much longer. I don't want people to start falling asleep or something. But just coming back to Dhruv will come back. Dhruv, he will go back. Not just go back to Godhead. When he goes back to Godhead, he's he's very close to his mother. So he actually looks around and says, "Where's my mother? Where's my mother going?" She has to ask the Vishnu dude. He's not worried about himself. He's actually worried that he wants his mother to go back with him. Vishnu to tell him, normally when you're going back to Godhead, you're supposed to just completely focus on going back to Godhead. Whatever. When you go to Vaikuntha, when you go to particular Vaikuntha planet, going to Golok Vrindavan, you should just completely focus on that. You should be thinking about family, or what am I leaving here, or whatever. Because Krishna wants you to be focused on, I'm going to go and serve him in the spiritual world. But Dhruva is so blessed. The Vishnu dudes tell him, don't worry about it. Just look across. Your mother, she's on a plane as well. The Vishnu did to bring her back as well. That's beautiful. I think one devotee told me that senior devotee told me that this Dhruva pastime is the favorite pastime of Lord Chaitanya. So that's how special this Dhruva Maharaj's pastime is. It's got everything in it. You got material motives, you got the advancement to spirituality, and then you've got the ultimate benediction of going back to Godhead as well. And that's the thing. So we can relate to that, because we have material motives. Then we've come to bhakti. Now try to elevate ourselves to spiritual life. And ultimately, we're trying to get to a point where we completely focus on spiritual life. Even if we have to deal with material things, we are ultimately our focus on spiritual life. We just don't, everything else is just part of the service. And that's why so Dhruva Maharaj is so worshipful, and that's why we should follow his example in that sense. Okay, any questions or go for it?
The reason that Rupa Goswami why said not to be too familiar or too friendly with the juniors or new people. If you think that you take the example of there is two types of service way you can serve your spiritual master. One is Bani Seva, one is Bopu Seva. So the Bani Seva is more, higher than Bopu Seva. Reason is, if a disciple become too familiar with Guru, there is a high chance of to commit offenses. That Srila Prabhupada said, Guru Maharaj is it in Shastra. When a disciple become too familiar with Guru, always around him Guru or ruler, there's a highly chance he take the Guru in granted. Or he's like us normal people, whatever, blah blah blah. That's why many gurus they don't allow one disciple continue their service for a long time because he will take granted the Guru. But Bani Seva is more hard than because you hardly get chance to get close to your Guru. Then you feel more special your Guru, isn't it? So similarly, if we become very familiar or very close to a new devotee, obviously there are learning stage. They'll take a devotee as like a normal person or ordinary person. They will watch what you do. They will make comment so many offenses to you. Then that's why Srila Goswami said, respect them, speak them nicely, treat them nicely, but don't be too familiar, don't be too close to them.
So when you say new devotee, you mean a neophyte?
Even your junior, respect them, but keep them in their level and make them feel that they need to improve themselves as well.
Yeah. Actually, a great example here is Prabhupada actually, because Prabhupada only met his Guru Maharaj.
Yes, Guru, only 10 or 12 times in his life.
I think it was less than that, like 4 or 5 times, something like. So he met him. I met a few times really, but yeah, that Guru, that Vani, he took to heart. Like Prabhupada said that he loved to listen to. Like that's the one thing. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur noticed that he liked to listen. Prabhupada liked to listen to what he said. So if you, a lot of us are already initiated already, but even if you if you are looking to take initiation, obviously, well, at least we got one definitely in the future, but it's So it's if you aren't able to necessarily serve your Guru directly as such, then just take association of his Vani, take association of his instructions. So Prabhupada, probably the best example of that. He actually followed his Guru's Maharaj's instruction properly. Guru Maharaj wanted his disciples to go to the West and spread, follow his instructions and spread Bhakti around, around the West, spread around the world. But the problem was with the other, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was on the way to spreading Bhakti around the West. It's just that he departed from this world, 1936. So it just wasn't a time because, as we know, World War II was about to happen a few years later as well. So it was just Krishna's arrangement that the mercy was to go to Prabhupada to really, spread Bhakti even further around the world. But Prabhupada, everything Prabhupada learned, he learned from his Guru in that sense, including setting up the GBC, making sure everybody followed the same, in terms of Arti, instructions. It was all set up. So Prabhupada today actually is even more important than he was when he was present here. Because if we didn't have Prabhupada, because we have different gurus, but then the different gurus have different mood. And that's why Prabhupada is so important. Prabhupada unites everybody. So even if you'd say you prefer deity worship or you prefer book distribution, because we all follow the Prabhupada's instructions, we all stay united, we all still, we're all devotees.
Still we're serving Prabhupada.
Exactly. So that's the one thing we need to always remember, we are serving Prabhupada. So even if you come across other devotees who might have different views, we're all still serving Prabhupada. So as long as we serve Prabhupada, we can't go wrong.
Yeah, but still Srila Prabhupada says the book distribution is Yes, please, more Srila Prabhupada more actually.
Yeah, we have book distribution, preaching. We need the preach. It is a preaching movement. You have to preach.
That's Prabhupada's vision was.
Yeah, like when Guru Maharaj was like chanting 64 rounds, and like he went to Prabhupada, I chant 64 rounds. Prabhupada told him off. He was like saying, "Why you chanting 64 rounds? Go out and preach."
There was a house program devotee done, and house program was so successful, 100% successful. Devotee was so excited. They thought we will go to Srila Prabhupada. We explained to him, he will be very, very pleased. So they came and Srila Prabhupada, blah blah blah. We did this, blah blah blah. Srila Prabhupada asked how many books you distribute there. They said, we forgot to take the books. So your program was meaningless, it's useless. You haven't done anything. Without Srila, without book distribution, Srila Prabhupada. I mean, it's, all other services okay, obviously. Please, Srila Prabhupada. Book distribution is higher.
Okay.
Yeah, Prabhuji, you told that Suruchi, Mother Suruchi, she did Vaishnava Upras. At the time when she, chastised Dhruva Maharaj, that time he was not a Vaishnava, or that time as well he was practicing Vaishnavism? Because that time he was a young boy.
Yeah. So.
And then that means if that is the case, then we should be careful not to be offensive towards anybody, because certain time in her life or in his life he can be a Vaishnava.
That can be like in Dhruva's case, he was, because like he came from such an elevated family as such. Well, say like grandson of Shambhu Mani's father. So that like for example, we consider like the kids, like the kids within the community, we consider them like little Vaishnavas as such. Obviously, you still can, you still instruct them, and you can still necessarily tell them off. But we look at them and little Vaishnavas. Like the kids here, they they do arti and everything. So Dhruva, even though he's still a young boy, he'd still be involved in the process. So in that case, he's like a little Vaishnava in that sense. And in this case, because he does elevate so much, he's so dear to the Lord, and Suruchi's actions were so deplorable. Somebody said that in Kali Yuga would be terrible. This is in Satya. It's unbelievable what she did. So that's there's that impact. You gotta be careful. And Dhruva Maharaj is a special case where the Lord was just opening everything up for it. I want you to have this. You are, you're my guy pretty much. I want you to have everything. So that's one example of, you gotta be careful. It can be in the future as well. Kali Yuga, we're allowed certain dispensaries, because we understood that we are fallen, so you won't get Sudarshan Chakra coming after you or anything like that. Don't worry about that. But you gotta be careful. You don't know. This could be a great Vaishnava in the future. You're like, oh, I can't believe I said that to them. But so you gotta be careful. Karma is a tricky thing, but that's why again to just take do your service, take shelter of the holy name. If you think you have done something wrong, apologize to them, or if you can't remember who you offended, then just apologize in front of the deities. That usually works.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
In these pastimes we've seen that these curses turned out to be boon. If it wasn't for this, we wouldn't have elevated such a big personality as Dhruva Maharaj. And in Bhagavatam, towards the end of the Dwapar, how Parikshit Maharaj got cursed. And how these the curses in Bhagavatam, they have got a higher meaning. I've seen.
Yeah. So
The pastimes turn out something else. So I think all these pastimes happen for us jivas of Kali Yuga.
yeah, there's like Dhruva Muni is a classic example. People feared Dhruva Muni, but Dhruva Muni, he's actually his curses have a reason. It's not just he's cursing randomly. He's telling them off because he wants you to elevate yourself. So there's definitely a reason behind it. It's not just because the rishis actually they use the power to curse if necessary. So they wouldn't just curse whimsically. They were done with reason.
I think they all happened because the Bhagavatam was supposed to manifest for us.
Yeah.
So all these happened in
first canto. There's many purpose Srila Prabhupada mentioned again and again. It's Krishna's arrangement.
Yes.
Otherwise, there is no reason that Parikshit Maharaj couldn't tolerate the thirst.
Yeah.
He could. He tolerated the power of the Brahmastra. when he
Yeah.
had his mother womb. The thirst was nothing to him actually. Also, he was grandsons of the Arjuna. He could manifest water from the earth by an arrow. So there is no other reason except apart from Krishna's arrangement. And not only that, Srila Prabhupada said, the devotee or people sometimes give example that Parikshit Maharaj was affected by Kali because he was wearing the crown actually. But Prabhupada said actually that's not true. The Kali actually attacked to the Brahman boy, Rishi Singha's boy, because he was too young. Kali was entered in his mind actually. That he was disturbed by Kali, that's why he caused the Parikshit Maharaj.
Because say that even Kali has blessings. Well, not blessing, but even he has a role, so it has to be done so Kali can take over and do.
That's why that Brahman boy is called Dija Bandhu actually.
Yes.
Although he was Brahman, but he was not qualified.
No.
That's a Kali took advantage of his lack of knowledge. Brahman.
So everybody who is getting Brahman Diksha now they can curse. Everybody is getting Brahman Diksha, they curse.
They're not recognized as what the authority of the Brahman is not recognized. They can't curse. Power is taken away.
Even sorry, Prabhuji, even the Dronacharya was Brahman Dijabandhu. He is
Ashwatthama.
he was doing Nokri under the Duryodhana. He was Dijabandhu,
I'm just going to say about curses and boons. Now, Nalkuvere and Manigriv, they were cursed by Narada Muni. And then they asked forgiveness, and then they were told, okay, when Krishna comes, he will deliver you. Now, these Nalkuvere and Manigriv they were insignificant to Krishna.
They have
They were good for nothing, this messing about boys. But he delivered them because Narada Muni said. So, although that curse was not a boon to them, it became a boon because Narada Muni had promised. So
Krishna wants to make true any words coming through his devotees.
Yeah.
So it's not necessary that the curse is a boon, but
Even-
because the devotee has said it becomes a boon.
Even said when Narasimhadev appeared from Pilar, he was there anywhere, all the time. What is the purpose? We can certainly time because Prahlad Maharaj said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like Arjun, he just that whole point was just to glorify Arjun or glorify the Pandavas, the battle. Krishna could have wiped them all out straight away, but
He already had marked them all already. All marked out.
So Krishna said, you declare that, no me bhakta pranashati. I'm not going to do that because sometimes I break my promise. You said.
You say it.
Yeah, that's
So Prabhu,